house several years ago when Hadass, my oldest daughter, now she's doing national service working with disturbed children. Men do 3 years in the Army, then if you're an officer, you do 1 or 2 extra years, and women do 1 or 2 years of national service if they can choose to be in the Army also. Hadass, my oldest daughter, is doing national service. But Hadassah was younger then. She was just 11. And we're talking about different ages and the age of the universe and how they can be billions of years and days. And we got to the point of Einstein's understanding that there can be, within a day, a long period of time. And we conjured up, we made believe a make-believe planet where time was so stretched out that time was just passing very slowly there, that while on the planet only 3 minutes would go by, just 3 minutes. On the Earth, 2 years would go by. We have 3 minutes on the planet, 2 years on the Earth. And Hadassah said, yeah, it's amazing, Abba. I mean, there really can be such a place where 3 minutes will go by up there and only 2 years on the Earth? I said, yeah, and these places have to exist, not in the solar system, but elsewhere in the universe they do exist. So I said to Hadassah, and Hadassah said to me, in fact, she said, Abba, that's great. Send me to that place where only 3 minutes go by. I'll spend 3 minutes on that planet. I'll do 2 years worth of homework, because 2 years go around. I come back home, no homework for 2 years. Was Hadassah correct? She gets to the planet where 3 minutes go by, and 2 years go by on the Earth. Hadassah was 11 when she went. All her friends were 11. Anyone have an idea how much homework she'll get done? How much? 3 minutes worth of homework, right. Now when Hadassah comes back, she left when she was 11. How old will she be? 11 in 3 minutes. How old will her friends be? 13. Hadassah will be 11. Her friends will be 13. Hadassah will have lived out 3 minutes. Her friends will have lived out 2 years. And both will have happened in the same time. And that's the heritage of Albert Einstein and the reality of our amazing universe. That the passage of time, that gravity, velocity, the expansion of the universe actually stretches out the perception of time. And that's just the way the world is. Like gravity makes the pen fall down, it also affects the flow of time. We have no problem with gravity affecting weight, right? I get up in the morning, I weigh myself on the scale, 150 pounds. I pick up my scale, zip over to the space center, off into space, and I get to the moon. I take out the same scale, step it on the scale. Do I weigh 150 pounds on the moon? No, about 25 pounds. Why? Jane Fonda the whole way up. Really, aerobics, I really work off those calories, huh? Is that why I only weigh 25 pounds on the moon? No? Why not?
Less gravity.
Oh, you mean, but I'm the same size? You mean gravity affects the weight of mass? Yeah, gravity affects the weight of mass. It does the same thing to time, but not so extraordinarily, not so dramatically that you can feel it. The reason that no one has a problem with the same big belly, weighing 150 pounds up on the moon, but only weighing 25 pounds on the moon, is because on the Earth we feel that effect. When you get into an elevator, the elevator pushes up on your feet, and for an instant, to your feet, it feels like you weigh a little bit more because it's pressing up more weight. You go on a water slide, you get wet and wild, whoop, and you go down, I don't weigh anything for a second, right? And your mind records that information, and it knows that it can sense that sometimes you weigh differently depending upon what your environment is. The same thing is happening to time, but such minute amounts of time that your brain can't pick it up. So it can never iterate, it can never record this information so that you can feel it intuitively. That's why it took an Albert Einstein to discover the fact that time varies from place to place in the universe. We look forward in time and see, or the Bible looks forward in time and claims 6 days went by. 6 24-hour days, but that contain all the ages, means all the ages of the universe. Contain all the ages of the universe. And Einstein told us how it could happen. And Hadassah, my daughter, discovered it for herself by going to a planet for 3 minutes. Had she looked down on the Earth from that planet with her binoculars, she would say, Abba, get to a doctor. Your heart is going like that. Because in one of her minutes, we would live out about 300,000 minutes. We would do 300,000 minutes worth of work, learning about the wonders of life. Oranges would ripen, we'd have harvest seasons, etc. And to Hadassah, it would be like a video on super fast forward, zoop. If I looked up at Hadassah and her planet, where only 3 minutes would go by in our 2 years, I would see her heart go. I said, Hadassah, you hibernating up there? She said, no, my heart's just fine. 1 beat a second, 60 a minute. What's the problem, Dad? Abba? And we'd both be correct. You see this difference only when you're looking over vast reaches of the cosmos. And that's what the Bible does. There was evening and morning, day one. The Bible says day one, Yom Echad, because the Bible sees time looking forward in time. We don't have that option. We look back in time. But science has opened the doors, pulled back the curtain on the mystery of time. Not necessarily the mystery of creation, but the mystery of time, and told us that as you view information from this perspective, looking back, you have a very different perspective of that time than looking forward. The universe started off hot and dense, and it expands, and it expands, and it expands. Not by there being new space. There's no new space. Outside the edge of the universe, if there is an edge or whatever that means, there's not other space to expand into. The universe gets bigger by space stretching. It's as if you took a balloon and blew it up halfway. Get a nice big balloon, you have this big, get up this big, okay? And now you glue on it some pennies. Each penny represents a galaxy. Oh, galaxy, hundreds of billions of stars. And you blow up some more. What happens to the pennies, one relative to the other, as the balloon gets bigger? They move apart. Are you getting more rubber? No, the rubber's just stretching. And that's how the universe gets bigger also. No new space. Just the same space is stretching. That's why the universe gets cooler as it gets bigger. And as space stretches, that has a phenomenal effect on the perception of time. We look back in time. The Bible looks forward in time. It tells us 6 days passed. We look back in time and say, there were dinosaurs 150 million years ago. There were insects 550 million years ago. There were solid rocks 3.5 billion years ago. And the Bible says that all happened in day 3, 4, 5, and 6. And they're both correct according to Albert Einstein. Think of what happens here now. You've got the beginning of, the Bible sees time from here. Let's go back and pretend there's a consciousness back there. God or anything back at the beginning of time. And this consciousness happens to own a laser. Obviously, there were no lasers back then. There were no people. There was not, just energy, and a few particles of matter. But this consciousness, this make-believe consciousness that we're going to try to understand, owns a laser. It sends out flashes of light, like a flash on your camera. It sends out a single flash of light. And another second later, it sends out another flash of light. Now, on the flash of light is imprinted some information, because you can do that on light, fiber optics. I'm sending you a flash of light every second. Every flash of light has written on it, I'm sending you a flash of light every second. First light goes out, second light. Light travels at 186,000 miles a second. So between the first pulse and the second pulse, there's a whole second of time. There's 186,000 miles. That's a lot of time and a lot of space. 186,000 miles. And now these pulses are going to travel through space and time till they're going to reach us here in Jerusalem on the 18th of September, Friday, about 4 minutes before 5 o'clock in the evening. And we've got this big dish antenna. Wango! The first pulse arrives. Wow! We decipher it. A pulse every second. A voice from outer space. Break out the beer. Bring in the newspapers. Wow, I got it. But look what happens to the pulse. The first pulse comes out. The second pulse comes out. But now they're going to travel through time and space. What's going to happen to the pulses? What's space doing in that time? So what's happening to the pulses? They get further and further and further apart. The first pulse arrives. Bingo! A second later, does the next pulse arrive? No. Wait a minute. Who said no? Said no? It's God back here speaking. Calling God a liar? God said, every second I'm sending you a pulse. I get out here. Bingo! The second pulse does arrive a second later. Because when you send information across space, the transfer of the information changes it, and the author of the Bible wanted to make sure that in the 1990s, when we discover that we wouldn't be saying there's something wrong with the text. There's nothing wrong with the text. It was 6 days. It contained all the ages of the universe. But when we perceive that time from our perspective, it's billions of years. That stretching of space is called a redshift. I want to quote from you now from an extraordinarily good book. Mine. But which quotes from an even more extraordinary book on cosmology. Probably the